just out of, you know, respect, show some interest for Bryn because she's doing us a huge favor by telling us about her take on sports nutrition. Um, Bryn is currently in her master's degree program for this. So it's really cool that she's willing to share with us. And I think it'll help us all understand a little bit better how to not only fuel ourselves, but help customers who have questions. And, you know, it's really nice that this is happening. Um, so, Bryn, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? And then I think you can share your screen and if you have something to share and you can start up.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Bryn. I'm from Corning. I work at the Corning store. I'm the assistant manager. I just graduated from Canisius College, now Canisius University. Of course, they changed after I graduated. Um, with my undergraduate in health and wellness. So it's a bachelor's in science, and I'm slowly but surely getting through my master's to become a registered dietitian nutritionist. I want to work more in the sports nutrition field because I have been an athlete my whole life. I was a runner, did a bunch of sports. And I've also been around like a lot of negativity with nutrition as well with my parents and their very unhealthy take on certain things. Um, they're getting better, but they don't really like to take my advice. So it's been a struggle for me. But yeah, I ran in middle school, high school, and I ran for Canisius. And now I'm here working on this master's. It's taking me a while because there's not a lot of resources around here, and doing your master's online kind of you need the sources. So I've been figuring it out, but we're gonna get there eventually. So yeah, let's see. So do you guys see my screen? Okay, cool. I do have a question though. Does anyone ever have like a customer come up to them and like ask them some weird question about nutrition and you have no idea what to say? Just because like you just know what we have in store, kind of.
Okay, so Bryn, I love that you asked that question. I'm gonna answer that one. Yes. That's how Jenna and I met.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I was working in the Binghamton store and Jenna came in and asked me some questions on nutrition about low carb stuff, and I muddled my way through, probably embarrassingly. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm hoping that this presentation gives you just enough advice for the people that do have questions. So yeah, we'll get started. So I did want to start with why nutrition is important. So food is fuel. So anything that you put in your body, it's going to do something for your body. Nutrients help maintain your brain, muscle, bone, nerves, skin, blood, circulation, and your immune system. So literally anything that you consume is going to do something for your body. It protects you from illness and disease. I'm not saying that eating 100% well is going to keep you from getting sick, but I'm just saying that it's going to help you maybe get sick less. And again, it does depend on what environment you're in. I've been sick so much because I've been working with kids the first time. So yeah, that's nothing nutrients can really help me with right now, but I've been doing better. So you have two different types of really important nutrients that you put into your body. So you have your macronutrients and your micronutrients. Your macronutrients are like the big three things that you hear about all the time, especially when you're like reading a label. So the purpose of macronutrients are they're literally your calories that you're taking in. So they supply energy in the form of calories and serve as a building block for your muscles, and your tissues. So the big three are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Now, a lot of people can look at two out of the three and be like, no, like carbohydrates and fat, a lot of people look at in a negative way. We're gonna see how you can look at that in a positive way. So throughout your whole entire daily value that you need, your carbohydrates should be about 45 to 65% of what you eat in a day. The range is dependable upon if I don't know, you want to go low carb, if you want to have like a higher carb, as some runners really do like high carb, or if you kind of just want to be in the middle. A typical ratio I see with carbohydrates, protein, and fat is, I believe, 60, 20, 20. Yeah, yeah. Something around those ranges. It definitely depends on the person. Protein, oh, and carbohydrates, it's going to be your energy. So this is what gives you, when you're running, that's what your body's burning, is your carbs. Protein, you want about 10 to 35%. Again, that depends on who you are. If you're like a lifter, you're going to probably want that higher ratio. I do like to say, when it comes to meals, I like about 30 grams of protein per meal. But again, it's your preference kind of. Protein helps repair muscles and bones, and it also does help with like your fullness. And then you have fat, which is 20 to 35%. Your fat helps absorb those fat soluble vitamins in your body. So your vitamin A, your vitamin D, your vitamin E. Now, there are different types of fat. So you have your unsaturated fats, which is your good fat. So oils, fish, nuts. An unsaturated fat is a fat that is liquid at room temperature. So that's something to easily remember. And then you have your saturated and trans fats. Those are your bad fats. Not saying that you can't necessarily not consume it, but in like a little ratio. So that is your fat at that's solid at a room temperature. So your butter, the fat that's on meat, so like the chewy stuff in the steak, or the stuff that comes out when you're cooking ground beef. I like to say that you want to get a ground beef that's 90-10, so 90% lean, 10% fat, so it'll be less grease that comes out. Coconut oil, that one surprised me. I don't know why. I was like, I didn't know that coconut oil was a saturated or trans fat. Margarine, shortening, any processed foods, fried foods, baked goods, and chocolate. That one's pretty sad. I need my sweet treat at night. So yeah, so when it comes to fats, eating lean meat is important. Again, the ground beef, 10, 90-10. I love chicken. That's a pretty lean meat. Anything along those lines. Just looking to see like on the labels what it really says. And then non-fat items are good too. And then you have your micronutrients, so your vitamins and minerals. What I learned last year, my last year in undergrad, was it's important to try to get your micronutrients through food before you go to supplementation. Because your blood doesn't absorb the supplements as well as like the natural food. It's like, don't supplement unless your doctor tells you, kind of. So there's that. Okay, so I did a little thing on what your plate should look like. I have two different versions. So the first version I have is the picture of what you can find on my plate. So you have your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, protein, and like dairy if you can have dairy. So there's that. And then something that I learned through two dietitians when I did my internship my senior year was 1/3 carbs, 1/3 protein, 1/3 produce. So that's like a really easy way to look at it for me, because fruits and vegetables are produce together, and just having like the 3 meal groups is just easier for me to like process in my brain. And then you can add the dairy if you like, if you want dairy. Your snacks should be 2 different food groups. So a lot of people have a hard time with snacking because it's something that's not going to fill you up and you're just going to keep eating it. What you want to try to do is try to pair like carbs and protein, carbs or produce, like any of those two, to try to like help fulfill your needs. It's good to snack, not bad at all. The dietitians said that it's like good to have like breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, and if you need a snack at night, totally fine. All right, so your pre-run fuel. So you want to eat a combination of foods that are higher in carbs and moderate in protein. And then you want to consume, for the carb ratio, about 1 gram per kilogram of carbs per hour before exercise. I know that can be very hard because sometimes I don't know when I'm going to go run. Like during the weekends, I'm like, oh, I'll just go when I feel like it. So it can be hard to navigate that, but just try your best. You have to focus on foods that are lower in fat and in fiber, just because one, you don't want to feel heavy, and two, you don't want to like have an accident during your run with that fiber. So I used to drink like applesauce before my morning practices, and yeah, that wouldn't go well for me. So maybe not have applesauce like 30 minutes before you go run. So the importance of carbs is it increases your muscle glycogen stores, and helps prevent hunger, and it provides a mental boost. So it's going to be that important energy that you use when you're running. The timing is super important for your food intake. So eating about 1 to 4 hours before your workout. So that all depends on your tolerance. You should know like how your stomach takes food when you're about to go work out, especially if you've been doing this for a while. A small snack 1 hour before, especially for like your long run, would be super important, or like a long workout. Water, we'll talk about that later. And then if you have a workout that's early in the morning, you should fuel well the night before, especially with your water and your carbs and protein, and eat something small in the morning. So like when I had 6, 7 a.m. practice, I would have applesauce. Sometimes I'd have a granola bar. It would just kind of be on how I would feel. And sometimes it is hard for me to eat in the morning, but you kind of have to, because it's kind of going to help you feel better when you run, especially when you're not a morning person like I am. So I have some pre-run snack and meal ideas. So some snack ideas would be your granola bar or dried cereal, Greek yogurt with berries, pretzels. Pretzels great because it has the salt on it too. Applesauce, be careful with that one. Fruit snacks or dried fruit, and then a sports drink. And the sports drink can also help with electrolytes, which I'll touch on later. And then meal ideas, if you're running like in the afternoon, evening, peanut butter and honey on bread, fruit, yogurt smoothie, turkey and Swiss on a sandwich, fruit, oatmeal with brown sugar and almonds and bananas, and then your lean hamburger or chicken on a bun, side salad, fruit, and yogurt parfait. So all of these are pretty well balanced through the 3 food groups. And then what we have in store. So the first thing I have here is our Morton the Solid. I had no idea that one had cocoa in it until a customer said that to me. That's what the C meant. I was like, I thought it had nothing in it. Like, so Morton is like, it kind of has not a lot of ingredients to it, something simple, especially and bland for people who don't have a good tolerance with heavy, not even saying that it would be heavy, but things just going in their stomach an hour before they run. And then we have the Exact fruit bars. These are great. The texture is a little iffy sometimes, but like it tastes good. So it's got a lot of carbs in there. It's got sugar in there. Might give you a little bit of a sugar high, but they're also really good. They're pretty small, 100 calories, so definitely could settle in your stomach pretty well. And then the Untapped and the Goose Stroopwafels, I love these. They're just, I don't know, they're just really good. Obviously you're not actually eating a waffle, but like, I don't know, it just hits well and it sits well in my stomach. They're good. They're very high in carbs. And then you have your trail butter, which could be good like on top of a piece of toast or anything like that. Does anyone have any questions on pre-workout? Alrighty, I'll move on. All right, so during run fuel. So runners need to add in 30 to 60 grams of carbs each hour that they are running longer than 75 minutes. So that goes for your long runs, workouts that are really long, you're racing, when you're racing like that half and that full. You got to keep track of like how many carbs that you're having, especially because you're burning those. And once you start like burning through them, if you're out of carbs, it goes to fat, and I'll talk about that later. And you don't really want to burn your fat as much as carbs. You should start fueling within, I like to say like 30 to 45 minutes of running. 30 might be a little too early for some people. Again, like when it comes down to this, it can be based on preference. Like usually most people, not all people, are going to know when they want to start fueling for getting into that longer process. And then every 15 to 30 minutes, personally, I feel like 15 minutes would be too much for me. I would say again, along like 30 minutes for that fueling. Again, like in that range would be fine. And then about 8 to 16 ounces of electrolytes and water mixed together every hour. So I'm somebody that hates carrying stuff when I run. So like I'm training for a half marathon now, and I'm just like, I already carry my phone, and I need to get a belt for that. But I'm like, I struggle with drinking water, period. So I'm not excited with that, but it is important to know that you need to be drinking water and having electrolytes with that as well. So what we have in store for your during run experience, you have your GU. So again, I feel like all of this stuff comes down to somebody's preference. You can do the research to see which one is better, but really it's what settles your stomach the best, what makes you feel energized the best. You have your GU. I know that GU feels, I was looking at the back of one and it felt like it had a lot of ingredients in it. Oh God, what was the first ingredient? It's like maltodextrone. That's the first ingredient to GU. So that's, I don't know how to feel about, I don't know much about maltodextrone, but again, it's what makes you feel good. And then you have the GU Roctane as well. So that just adds a little bit more electrolytes in there. And then you have your Morton. I know the first ingredient in Morton is water. So that might be something really that somebody would really like. So again, like it has like water and then like a couple more ingredients. So that's like one of the GUs that has less ingredients, which some people do like. And then you have your Huma. It has the blended chia seeds in there. The chia seeds adds about 1 gram of protein and 1.5 grams of fiber. So again, if somebody wants to get some protein and fiber in there, that would probably be more for them. I feel like their ingredients seemed a little bit more on the natural side for me. And then you have your Huma Plus, again, adding more electrolytes. And then you have your Honey Stinger. I don't know too much about Honey Stinger, but again, similar with all the GUs. And then your Untapped. Untapped would be good for somebody that doesn't think they can take like a thick consistency like GU or anything like that. It's not like an actual syrup, but it goes down pretty nicely. So that would be good for somebody that needs something thinner when they're running. Does anyone have any questions about your during running fuel?
So just
You said, oh, go ahead.
just in terms of Honey Stinger, it's honey based with some flavor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's basically what it is. And some electrolytes I think they added, which
Yeah.
the research suggests works really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does the research suggest all the other ones work well, but
Yeah.
we know that Honey Stinger will also work as well as the other ones, is basically
Yeah.
what it tells us.
Adding the electrolytes is definitely a good thing, especially when you already need to have the 8 to 16 per hour. So anyone else?
In terms of, you said 30 minutes in, and then is it, what did you say after that? Or I might have missed. How much do you take, or are you going into that?
So how much do you take? It's usually, I know people have their preferences. I know sometimes people do like half of it. It's really how much you think you can handle. A whole serving is fine if you can handle it, but if you're like, I can't do that much, then maybe doing like half every 15 minutes would probably be a better choice there.
All right.
Yeah, I know people do it differently, so. All right, so your post-run fuel. So what you are putting in your body after you're finishing any type of run is super important. It's part of the very detailed recovery process, along with your stretching and your rolling and your sleeping and your water. What you are putting in your body is one of the number one things that helps with that recovery. So what you should be focusing on is restoring fluids and electrolytes lost, replacing your muscle fuel, so replacing those carbs that you burned, and protein to promote muscle repair and growth. So as we're running, we're kind of like breaking down our muscles. We need to repair those muscles to make them happy for your next run. So measuring intake, I don't know. So I say that because it's like weighing yourself and figuring out like how much you have to do can be kind of tedious. So it's kind of like just go on how you think feels good for you. Carbs is up to half your body weight in grams. Protein is 15 to 25 grams. Sometimes I like to say 30 grams per meal, but again, it's like, how do you feel? Like, if you're eating protein and you get super full super fast, then it's like fun if you don't get all those grams of protein. And then water should be 16 to 20 ounces for every pound loss. I know not everyone's going to be weighing themselves before and after their run. I know I wouldn't. So just make sure that your pee has just a teeny tiny tint of yellow in it. If it's clear, you probably should give yourself a rest. But again, just make sure you're drinking water throughout your day. I'm horrible at that and I need to do better. So some post-run snack and meal ideas. Some snack ideas are low-fat chocolate milk, fruit and yogurt, graham crackers with peanut butter and low-fat milk, apple or banana with nut butter and low-fat milk, and trail mix and a sports drink. In college, we had this like recovery room. We called it the snack shack. I don't even remember what it was actually called, but they had all the stuff in it. So it was available for athletes once a day. Unfortunately, our long run day was Sunday and they weren't open on Sundays. So I don't know. We had to bring our own stuff, I guess, but it sucked because we always said that chocolate milk made the pain go away and it wasn't available to go away on Sundays, I guess. And then meal ideas. So after like you're done, it's a good idea to have a snack right after, even if your stomach is like, no, it's good to at least have that sports drink or something small like graham crackers. Um, while you're like stretching and rolling and doing all the things you need to do after. And then go into your meal. So that'll definitely help up the carbs as well. So 2 to 3 scrambled eggs, 2 pieces of whole wheat toast with jelly, mixed berries. If you're having lunch after, you can have grilled chicken or grilled fish or tofu with small baked potato and green beans. And then if you're having dinner after, whole wheat spaghetti with marinara or tomato-based meat sauce made from lean ground beef and a side salad. So again, we're hitting all of the 3 thirds on your plate. So just some ideas for you if you don't know what to eat after you do a long run or a workout or anything along those lines. The big thing in our store that we have that would be great like after run snack are the exact protein bars. I'm in love with these. It's like it's a bad addiction. Like sometimes I'm just really bored in the store and I'm like, I'm hungry, and I go grab one and pay for it and eat it. I love the chocolate one so much. It's so good. I was training Allison the other day and I was like, do you want one? She was like, yeah. So I got us both one and she said it was good. So yeah, that's good. I know it has about 15 grams of protein. So that's great. And then 25 grams of carbs. So again, higher there as well. And then having a meal after would help up that carb intake. Yeah. Any questions on your post run fuel?
When I was training for, I don't remember what marathon, but a few years ago, I
Mhm.
used to have trail butter because I could just leave it in my car and not worry about it melting.
Yeah.
But it had some protein, some carbs, and it got me home.
Yeah.
With especially they've recently discovered that women need more protein than men right after a workout. So I was like, I better do it. And if you don't, it can lead to additional stress on your body, which can lead to overtraining and other things. So yeah, like I was struggling with overtraining anyway. So I was like, I better have something. And the trail butter was just convenient.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I've heard some good things about the trail butter. I haven't tried it personally myself, but I have heard that it's good for before or after. So
Yeah, I mean, it was designed for people who were doing like ultras.
right.
It's literally like just trail mix that they blended,
Interesting.
but it tastes pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I'm gonna have to try it though. Like what does it like taste like? I know there's different flavors, but what does it taste like?
It's like, have you ever had almond butter?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that,
Okay.
but
It was
then like
giving
it
me that.
has a little bit of the fruitiness to it.
Oh.
But I like it. I mean, it's good enough that it's great post run,
Yeah.
but I don't know that it's like my favorite thing that I want to eat every meal. But
Right.
I agree on the exact bars. I like those a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. They just like they hit well. I don't know.
They're a cookie.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anyone else? Okay. So, hydration and electrolytes. So, before you work out, you're going to want about 16 to 20 ounces of water 4 hours before exercise and 8 to 12 ounces of water 10 to 15 minutes before exercise. So, I know some people get that water belly really bad. It sucks. I understand that. And I also understand that measuring and keeping track of how much water you have sucks too. That's why it's good to have like a water bottle that you know how many ounces are in there so you can just keep track of, you know, how much of my water bottle did I drink. And again, it's like just making sure that your pee is not dark yellow. Um, so during your exercise, especially for something that's longer than an hour, you're going to want water every 15 to 20 minutes. And then 3 to 8 ounces for exercise that's less than 60 minutes. Again, I suck at drinking water when I run. I'm going to have to figure out a reason how to convince myself to do it. But again, having water is going to help make your run better. It might have to make you stop to go to the bathroom more, but that's fine. It's not going to kill your run. Post exercise, you're going to want about 16 to 24 ounces of fluid for every pound lost within 2 hours. Again, nobody's going to really want to go weigh themselves. So just drink that 16 to 24 ounces, see if your pee's a good color, and just keep hydrating throughout the day. Electrolytes. So electrolytes are your essential minerals that are found in the blood, sweat, and in your urine. So it's going to be running through your system pretty fast when your heart is pumping, when you're exercising. The important thing that electrolytes do are they regulate the balance of fluids inside and outside of your veins. And they maintain your nerve and muscle function. And it helps regulate your blood pressure. So the extra minerals that are important that are running through your body when you are running is going to be helping with that process when your body's trying not to freak out because your heart's beating so fast. Um, it is pretty important to have electrolytes every day. I wouldn't say be drinking it throughout the whole day, but it is a good idea to have it probably pre, during, and post run. My parents have been like obsessed with having their electrolytes like first thing in the morning. I'm not sure if that's really necessary unless you're running in the morning. But yes, making sure that you are having your electrolytes is going to help with hydration, and then drinking water in general is going to be another key with hydration. So what we have in store, we have the exact tablets. So that would be good for somebody that I feel like they're more of like a subtle flavor when I tried it. Like, then again, I tried the lemon flavor, so pretty subtle. It's not carbonated really at all. So again, if somebody likes something that goes down really easy, that probably would be a good option. You have your Tailwind, the recovery mix, which will be great for your post run. And I think it's really interesting how they make their recovery mix like chocolate, vanilla, coffee. So it's like you can make a milkshake out of your recovery mix. And then you have your endurance fuel, so something good pre, during, before. Having like I know they have a lot of fruity flavors. So again, if somebody comes up to you and doesn't know and they like a fruity flavor, maybe a little bit higher in the carbs, or the calories, but they're okay with that because they're burning them, then that would be a good option. You have your Noon. Noon is a little bit fizzy. I know that. And then you have your caffeinated versions, which are the ones with the black tops, and then your regular versions. I had a weird question the other day. A customer asked me if you could put Noon tablets in the bladders of the hydration packs, and I was like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know if it would be too fizzy for like it, because I know how like tablets and water bottles can sometimes make it like,
You can,
yeah.
it just needs to be like, you need to vent it a few times, because once it settles, like once it's completed, it's not as fizzy
Yeah, that's what I
after a
said to
while.
them.
So if you just like make sure to vent it, because
Yeah.
otherwise you will have it vented for you, and that is messy.
Yeah, that's what I said to them. I was like, I feel like it should be fine as long as you like put it in there and like let it be, just open for a little bit before you
I
go.
went for a run once with it in a water bottle,
Yeah.
and it would like spurt out randomly
Yep.
because it was a little bit fizzy. So you had,
Mhm.
like I popped the top and like bent it and squeezed it and then popped it back on, and it was fine.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good to know that I like know 100% and other than guessing that it was fine.
I'm just
Yeah.
so laughing that that was a question at all.
No, she was like, I'm here for a hydration pack. And like, we went through all the stuff and she ended up getting the ones with like the 2 liter on the back. And she was like, can you put new tablets in here? And I was like, I've never heard that question before. I have no idea. So good to know that you can, you just have to let it vent out. Okay. Good.
The other thing to think about is like when you put it into the bladder, you can kind of like suck on it to get all the air out of it, and then it won't even be
Yeah.
a question.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Noted for the next time somebody asks me that question.
Or if anybody else gets asked.
Yeah, that too. Alrighty. And then you have your Morton. It's funny reading the back of Morton packages because it's like in English / in like what, French? I don't remember what language it was, but like a
It
customer and
might
I
be
were
Swedish.
yeah, who knows? The customer and I were looking at it and she was like, how many carbs are in here? And I was like, I think it's, and then I said what it was. And then she was like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know either. So yeah, you have your Morton again, like doesn't have much of a taste. I have heard it tastes like burnt marshmallow. But again, just choosing, you can use either of these drink mixes, choosing which amount of calories you really want. People usually like to go with the lesser one unless you're running like crazy, crazy mileage. And then you have your salt sticks. You have the salt tablets that you can swallow. I used to have those before race. along with smart water, because I have like a really bad breathing problem, and like it would make me cramp up so bad in the lungs. So that would actually really help with just like my whole body not freaking out anymore. And then you have like the fast chews, like, so if somebody doesn't want to put something in their water, they can just pop it in their mouth for. Okay, does anyone have any questions about hydration and electrolytes?
So I'm actually kind of curious. I've always, I think Jenna maybe told me this, is that the fast chews make it absorbed. What's the terminology used? Through the mouth.
Sublingually.
Sublingually. There we go. There's the terminology I'm looking for. So,
Yeah.
Jenna, can you talk a little on that?
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about it.
So the brand claims that the chews you can take when you start cramping up, and within 4 minutes it should be easing it because it goes right through your cheeks and mouth. Yeah. It's like, which is really cool because then you don't have to wait for it to absorb in your stomach versus the pills, which you have to take and then wait for the gel capsule to like break down and then you can get it into your system. So yeah, salt stick is like that. And actually Run Gum, the reason Run Gum exists is because it was made so that you could absorb the caffeine sublingually, like so right through your cheeks and mouth. That means the caffeine isn't going into your gut and causing havoc, which is the big problem with caffeine, which is the only approved performance enhancing drug to my knowledge. Although now they're talking about
It
bicarb.
has to be at a certain amount. Like if you go past a certain amount, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've heard different things about Run Gum. I've heard people say, "Oh, it's great, like I love it," and then some people are like, "It literally just like crumbles in my mouth," and I'm like,
It tastes gross. It
Yeah.
is not a pleasant chewing experience, but it works.
yeah,
That's my experience with it. Like if I take one before a 5K, I feel better during the 5K.
good to know. Good to know.
And then the exact tablets have a little bit more electrolytes in them. There's just
Yeah.
more in it than the Nuun, but otherwise they're very
Mhm.
similar.
Yeah, they're
products.
pretty similar.
So it's like more geared towards maybe like a heavy sweater.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely noticed just like tasting it, it felt more like, I don't know why I want to say this, but it felt like there was more sodium in it, and
It
like
tastes salty, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. Okay. I'm
Yep.
not crazy. Cool.
Nope, it's true.
All right. All right. So ketones. I'm not well versed in ketones. I did as much research I could to understand it because again, I'm not very far into my master's program, but I have learned about it in school. I just haven't done like the research. So you get if you don't get enough energy from glucose, so that comes from your carbs, your body breaks down fats for energy instead. So like I said, if you're not keeping up with the amount of carbohydrates that you have in your body, it's gonna go towards fat. This breakdown releases ketones that travel through your bloodstream. So people who are on keto, this is something very common with them. I know that some people do struggle with keto and get the keto flu. It's because their body doesn't know what the heck is going on. Like, why is my energy source not here? Why am I trying to burn fat instead? So that's why you have to be careful with the keto diet because that can be something that does happen. You fuel your body's tissues and it exits through the urine. So the ketones are going through your body's tissues, your bloodstream, and it exits through the urine, just like your electrolytes. Too many of these ketones can make the blood acidic and toxic. So that means ketoacidosis. So something that can happen with these people that are on keto that can cause the keto flu is the ketoacidosis. And this occurs in your liver. And we all know the liver is like a huge thing, like one of the biggest organs in your body. And it's a very important organ. So having the ketoacidosis is not going to be a good thing, and it can cause big problems with your liver. So the thing that we have in store is the Ketone IQ. The good thing about these are it helps increase blood ketone levels at an appropriate rate, not having too much or too little ketones in your bloodstream. It uses ketones instead of carbs or sugar for energy. So you're going to be like, in a way, saving the carbs and the sugar for your energy once you run out of the ketones, or if you run out of the ketones, and then it's not going to resort to the fat last. It's going to fuel both the brain and the body. So it goes past your blood-brain barrier, which actually helps with like your brain being able to function when you're going through the process of a long run, a workout, a race, anything like that. So it's going to help with your mental awareness. It aids in athletic performance, keeps your metabolic system in check, which is great, especially when you're going through the stress of a run. And it helps with mental clarity, again, the blood-brain barrier. I had a customer come in the other day and she was like, I've tried pre-workout, but I just can't with how it makes me feel. Like, do you have anything that you think would help? I was thinking, and I was like, I mean, do you focus on like electrolytes? And she was like, yeah, I do that. Like, I do the salt sticks or whatever. And then I was like, oh, wait, like, come over here. And so I introduced her to the Ketone IQ, and I was like, there's no carbs in it, no caffeine in it. So I know that was something you were worried about. And it actually helps like with your athletic boost, your mental boost, and all of that fun stuff. Like I showed her the label and all that stuff. So I hope it actually really worked with her for her, because I know she was looking for something to give her that boost before she worked out. Any questions on ketones? Alrighty.
So I'm just gonna throw in a little bit.
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
so what you want to think about with Ketone IQ is that number one of those little bottles will last for 5 hours.
Mhm.
So if you have someone who's like, every time I take anything, my stomach is mad, you can take this an hour before a marathon and then go run a marathon. And you shouldn't have to take a lot, but like you could take some stuff with you just in case, right? And then on top of it, if you've ever who's done a long run and by the like mile 15, your brain is not doing math anymore. Yeah. That this should help with that if you take it beforehand. But you also don't have to carry it with you, which is nice. So it's like a different pathway. They're selling it as an additional way to get energy. Like you can take both, which is true. I'm not convinced that both pathways work at the same time. I don't have the details on that, but that's what they're like pushing. They're also selling it to Navy SEALs, people who are out in the field for like weeks without like guaranteed access to food. They're selling it to so there's really interesting research surrounding like Alzheimer's and some other brain issues, because as was noted, ketones are a good fuel for brains, and for whatever reason, sometimes better. So I know there's sometimes there's kids who have seizures so badly that there's no medication that touches it, and they end up on a super low carb diet because that's the only thing that controls the seizures. They're looking into this product to help with that. Now, does that help us? No. But it is interesting to know a little bit more about the product and what they've been using it. So just throwing that out there.
I know it's good for people with like type 1 diabetes too. I remember doing one of my prereqs, there was information about like ketones and type 1 diabetes. So I was familiar with that part, just not like with yeah.
They also are selling it as like a diet product. Because you could take this, it's not a lot of calories, but it does keep your body going for a long time.
One serving's like 70 calories, I think.
Yeah. And it basically turns your system over the same way like keto diets do
Mhm.
into a different pathway, but without doing that.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
will say it is disgusting to drink. And I tell customers that I'm like, this is gross. Be prepared. You want to chase it with something. The good news is it does wash out of your mouth really quickly. Like one sip
Yeah.
is usually enough.
I will say I did use it when Jenna and I did New York. I was ill prepared for New York. I did one 13-mile run, and I think the next longest run was like 8. Um, uh, doing 12 miles a week on average for 6 months. Um, I did take ketone IQ, and it settled. Like really, like it didn't affect my gut at all, which was great. And we were running slow, so obviously there's a little bit of that to why I didn't feel awful either. But I will say the ketone IQ probably got me through feeling pretty comfortable throughout that. So, but
Anybody
like
else
Jenna
used
said,
it?
it's gross. So,
But a sip of water washes it out pretty good. So it's like not the end of the world. It's just you take it like a shot and don't sip it. I know Justin was using it for his workouts and he was like impressed. And I think Eric was. I'm not sure who else. But yeah. It's just an interesting new twist on a nutrition product that could be used.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it sometime. Like once I actually start getting into like longer runs, I'm gonna have to get myself to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So, last but not least, I have some advice to give to customers if they're asking questions. Practice balancing your meals and your snacks. So again, the protein, produce, carbs, and then 2 for snacks. Experiment with what you would like for pre, during, and post run. It's definitely something you need to give yourself time to practice and get used to and see what you like, especially if you're new into it. Try to keep track of how much water and electrolytes you have a day because again, it is important, but again, it's understandable to have a hard time keeping track of that. And then carbs are not the bad guy. I understand if you want to go low carb, but at the end of the day, they're not the bad guy in most cases, because it's your energy and it's important. And then I did want to touch on how important it is to read labels. I'm just going to go through this little label real quick, just to touch on the daily value percentages. So if you're looking at something and it has 5% or less, it's a low daily value percentage. And then if it's 20% or more, it's high. So what you want is you want your saturated fats, your trans fat, your sodium, and your added sugar to be low. So having it be around that 5% is, better. And then what you want to be in the higher range is going to be your dietary fiber, your vitamins, your minerals, protein, carbs, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that just, for a little bit of label reading knowledge. But yeah, that's all I have. Does anyone have like any questions that they want to ask or want to say anything that they have encountered with a customer that they just weren't sure what to say, but now they might know what to say now?
share your stories, everyone. Share your stories.
I'll ask a question. I'm curious if you have any suggestions for runners with very delicate stomachs, or more specifically, things like IBS.
Ooh, that's a good one. So looking at something that definitely does not have a lot of fiber to, trigger maybe an episode or something like that. Definitely probably something that has less ingredients, maybe a little bit more water-based would probably be the best. I want to say it would be maybe beneficial for them to try something like Morton just because water is the first ingredient in that. Anything else, maybe not Huma because of the little bit of fiber that's in it. So yeah, probably you know, it might be unfortunate they might not like the taste, but Huma would probably be like the first brand of products to go for. Or not Huma, Morton. Yeah.
Morton's actually interesting because it's a hydrogel,
Mhm.
which is like a little bit of a different take on what most of the gels do, which gives it that weird texture. It's almost like Jello, but not
Mhm.
quite. Who's taken Morton? Anybody? A few people. The flavor is like sugar water. I mean, it's not like not a strong flavor.
It's,
Um,
yeah,
but
it's
because
Jello.
of that coiling for the hydrogel, it's their whole concept is to protect the stomach and the gut and have it go in more easily
Mhm.
without causing trouble. So that's probably the direction to go. But I'd be really interested in hearing what people do with ketone IQ. To Matt's point, it's just interesting. It's a different take, so I don't know. Is it a recommendation? I would give the customer the choice,
Mhm.
because it's just such small amount of volume that they're going to have in their stomach at all.
Ketone's actually probably our best-selling nutrition in the Goshen store. Besides like gels overall, like one particular product, it's probably like I feel like we're always going through it. So it seems to be pretty popular. It
Yeah,
does
they've been
taste,
marketing hard
yeah.
too, so I
Every
see ads
customer,
for it
yeah.
constantly.
Every customer who likes it, it's a lot of repeat customers, it's not a lot of new people. They say the same thing. It's like it tastes like shit, but they do notice a difference.
Yeah, it's hilarious because on their website they have like cocktail recipes to like try and don't be. It's so bitter. It tastes like if apple cider punched you in the face. That's the best I can do. It's disgusting. It's bad, but again, it washes out quickly. All right, who's tried Huma? What are your thoughts on Huma?
I wasn't too impressed with it. I just tried it a couple weeks ago. I didn't like the texture of the chia seeds in there, and that added a little extra fiber, and my stomach didn't handle it very well.
I know it's on the wine glass course, so I'm like very interested. Yeah.
I haven't had a problem with the texture, but you do have to be in the right mindset for it because it's a little lumpy.
Mm.
And to me, as long as I'm telling myself like the blueberry one tastes like a blueberry muffin. And if you start thinking of it as a blueberry muffin, then the texture makes sense. And if you're taking it expecting a gel, does not make sense. It's not good. Who uses Goo? Goo is easily the top brand. It's what most people use. Bryn is totally right. It has a lot of junk in it that they've just put together a bunch of things. But it works for a lot of people. Who has tried? What else have you tried? What's your favorite?
Mm.
I typically go to the untapped ones or anything that has coffee flavor in it because I love like coffee flavored stuff. So I've tried a few of the goos. I'm not a big fan of them, and then the Humas, like you said, they're like lumpy and stuff. But I like the waffles a lot as my like pre-run snack too. And I do like the untapped liquid one and the honey singles.
What I like about Untapped is that if it's hot out or it's cold out, hot maple syrup is good and cold maple syrup is good. Where like some of the I don't know, with goo, it always seems to me like the flavor has to make sense with the temperature. So like the lemon sublime when they're warm, not good. But when they're cold, they're okay. The strawberry banana, I don't think I would want to try when it was warm. Probably avoid it. But the nice thing about the Untapped is that it does it tastes good either way. Same with the salted caramel, which is the top selling goo flavor. So like if you have a customer who's like, which one's good? The top selling one is salted caramel. It's easy to just tell them that, you know. But I also tell them like it needs to make sense in your head. So if the gushy taste is gonna make sense, like peanut butter was one flavor that people liked, but again, it probably makes sense in your head with the texture, you know.
So two points. One is Ethan, you are right. Goshen, actually out of the entire company, Goshen sells the most. In the past year, it's 63 bottles. Binghamton and Watertown were at 50. Corning's at 21. So Ketone IQ is definitely the hottest down in Goshen by far. So yeah, there you go. And then second point, I actually wanted to bring up, everyone's talking about their favorites and things like that. Some research that I did look up years ago that I haven't gone back to, but I do teach in my classes is there are different pathways for different types of carbohydrates in terms of how they're digested. So the maltodextrin versus the fructose versus glucose versus so all of those different things have different pathways. So if one pathway gets clogged up where you're having Untapped over and over again, it might actually be good to switch to a different brand or a different type of gel or a different type of like a waffle or whatever it may be to utilize a different carbohydrate pathway. So
Yeah, what it means is it absorbs at different rates.
yeah.
So their idea is that if you give X percentage of this kind and X percentage of that kind, and that it's like longer burning because each of them kind of kick in when the next one declines. Whether or not that's true is a different question, and like how your body absorbs it is a different question, but that's their concept with that.
So a great way to talk to the customers, the same way you do with a shoe fitting. You know, don't get locked into a brand, don't get locked into a model. Switch up your shoes to different things.
Yeah. And the important thing is to encourage people to try a bunch of them before race day, because when they show up the week of race day and they're like, I'm gonna do a marathon this weekend, and I'm told that I'm supposed to do this, like they've already screwed themselves.
Yeah. And to Jim's point, you know, he doesn't like Huma, but if he was to do wine glass, he probably should have his own nutrition that he enjoys, he'll carry with him, but then he should probably practice with Huma as well, just in case he finds himself out on the course like, oh crap. You know, that's what they're going to be serving. So you might as well get used to it. If you're going to run a particular marathon, maybe they're using Untapped on a certain course. Practice with it. You know, it may not be your favorite, but practice with it and be prepared just in case. So
Yeah,
that's a good way to talk to a customer.
Anybody run a marathon or a half marathon and you see goo on the ground that's not open and you wonder why? Yeah, somebody lost their goo and they're going to be sad later. Who else has a favorite? Anybody try trail butter? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Personally, I really like it because it fills a craving for peanut butter for me because I crave it at night all the time. And that just happens to be pretty good for me.
Yeah. I like it a lot too because I'm a peanut butter fan too.
But it's more satisfying than peanut butter. Do you guys find that?
It is,
I find that
yeah.
with right?
Yeah. What do you think?
How about, oh, has anyone tried the liquid goo? They have like the bigger things of it. The concept is really just more water in it. It's just watered down. So you don't have to drink as much water outside of that. That's the whole plan there. I haven't tried one. I don't know. Anybody tried something outside of what the brands we carry and you're just in love with it?
I tried UCAN. So that's kind of like the goo, the what you just mentioned. So you don't have to take water with it. It wasn't that bad. The flavor I picked wasn't that good of a flavor, but it went down. I didn't have any stomach issues with it. So I like the UCAN.
Yeah, I used to run with UCAN, but I did back then it was just powder. So you had to mix it up beforehand and then you could take it. But they use a slow carbohydrate, which is I don't remember what their technology was, but whatever it was, it absorbs super slow. So you were supposed to take it like an hour before. So I don't know what the new ones are because I know they came out with gels recently. It looks like Exact will have gels next year, which I'm excited about. Exact is very trail running oriented. So those fruit bars like are more of like something you might eat on the trail. But I think it's going to be interesting when they come out with gels because their stuff tastes pretty good, you know. Everybody tried Exact, right? If not, there should be samples in store that you can try. All right, well, I want to thank Bryn for talking to us and taking the time to set this up. We really appreciate all your insight and the work that you did on this and talking to us about everything that we may or may not have known, especially since I think a bunch of us have probably never run further than like 8 miles. So it's a whole different world out there. And